Okay, I have just started recording. So, like I was mentioning before, I did prepare a PowerPoint presentation, and I definitely don't want you to feel like you just have to sit and listen. I would
Okay.
love for you to ask questions, tell me your thoughts on things, and you should be able to see the title page of the PowerPoint. Is that correct?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So, as you know, today we're talking about time management. And it's something, whether we're students or just adults navigating life, it can be a struggle, right? To keep that
Mhm.
balance and just feel like you're on top of everything that you need to do in a day. So, Liz, I want to ask you, what is your idea of successful time management? What's your goal when it comes to this subject?
Um, well, I guess my biggest goal would be like to not procrastinate, um, and not leave everything to the last minute. So have a set schedule where I'm doing stuff consistently and I'm not like juggling around time and trying to find time at the last minute. Um, yeah, that's my biggest issue and just trying to figure out a way to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You
like
said
some
some really good
strategies
things.
or tips. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. So I like what you said there, avoiding procrastination, and just overall feeling like you're not playing catch up with your
Yeah.
tasks, but that everything is organized. And I definitely have some tips to share, and I hope that you can, use them and find them useful to you.
Definitely.
So the overall objective is to offer or demonstrate three main points with this presentation. First, we're going to talk about how do you prioritize your daily tasks and activities? In other words, how do you determine what is important and needs to be done first and what can wait until later? The second point that I'm going to bring out is learning how to best manage your own personal schedule. So once you know what's important, from there, you can determine how to create a schedule that works best for you, and then develop that schedule and put it into practice. And we're going to talk about different forms of time management systems that you can use, that are going to be practical for you and something that you're actually going to keep up with and on a consistent basis. Okay, so speaking of procrastination, I thought that this picture was pretty funny.
Hmm.
It's such a common thing for us to do, right? And this
Hmm.
quote I thought was also pretty humorous too. Tomorrow, a mythical land where 99% of all productivity, motivation, and achievement is stored. Um, Obviously, that's the kind of attitude that we want to avoid, right?
Hmm.
Um, if we push off everything to tomorrow, we're gonna reach that point where it's just freak out mode because we've procrastinated all of these tasks. And then let's say, an exam comes up and we're just stressed out. So, how can we better organize our time? So, what we might want to consider doing first is just identifying the source of the problem. We have so many distractors around us and on our devices. I think it's safe to say 95% of us have a smartphone, and it's like our life source, right? We do everything on it, but it's also a really big source of distraction for us. We're getting different notifications on our screen. Um, and so it's good to ask ourselves, okay, what's causing me to procrastinate? Is it actually because I'm not using my time well? And instead of studying for an exam, I'd rather binge watch my favorite TV show. Or is the source of the problem really that I look at my schedule and I get overwhelmed or stressed? Maybe I feel just tired in general because of all of my obligations in a day. So yeah, competing demands in our daily schedule can lead to procrastination. It's almost a form of anxiety exhibiting
Mhm.
itself with avoiding certain tasks. Um, do you feel like you fall into that trap sometimes, Liz?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and I noticed a while back that, social media was one of the big distractors. So I deleted all of that and, took some time off and that really helped. But then I was still procrastinating.
Yeah,
Other stuff came up or whatever.
I'm happy to hear though that you still recognize social media is really robbing me of my time. So
Yeah.
let me delete my accounts. Good for you. I'm glad that you took that step.
Mhm.
That's definitely a part of the process. So, once you've done that, then it's like, okay, I've removed the negative things. Now let me
Mhm.
put some positive things or utilize some positive techniques and methods to replace the time that I spent on social media. All right, so again, ask yourself a lot of self analyzing here. What are your priorities? So, if we were to do the math, there are 168 hours in a week. And not saying that I recommend this, but let's say you had a lot of time one day and you wrote down the hours per day of work, the hours per day of class time, running errands slash doing chores, then studying. You got to put sleep in there. You got to put some self care into there and some recreation. You may see that you don't have as much free time as you assumed. Um,
Mhm.
so it's good to categorize or create a list of all of your daily tasks. And then once you've created that list, number them according to their level of importance. And that level of importance is going to depend on what you feel like is the most critical as opposed to the least critical. And of course, the activities that are on the top of your list, meaning they're more critical, those are going to be the ones that you want to make sure to schedule time for to accomplish in that day because they have a high level of importance.
Mhm.
And you might ask yourself as well, how do I determine if something is more important, if one task is more important than the other? Well, this little matrix that you see here, it has multiple names, decision making matrix. Apparently, during the times of World War II, President Eisenhower um, developed this. I may be wrong with that timeline, but supposedly President Eisenhower developed this matrix to help him to make important presidential decisions. And he divided the matrix into two axes. And on one side is important, not important. And then on the other side, going horizontally, is urgent, not urgent. And so when he looked at his tasks, he would ask himself, okay, is this activity important and urgent? So, from the perspective of a nursing student, something that is urgent might be an exam that you have next week. And it's important because it's a significant percentage of your grade. So, therefore, the to do list would be study for this exam.
Mhm.
Um, Another thing that would be in the do category or quadrant would be a homework assignment because there's a set date, so it's urgent, and it's important because it's going to affect your grade. Now, the plan quadrant, I would say is where you learn to develop good habits. Okay. Because, of course, you want to score good on this exam, but you also want to create a consistent routine for yourself. So, for example, something that is important is just regularly studying for the final throughout the entire semester. It's not urgent because it's not something that's coming up immediately, but this is the quadrant where you're going to develop the habit of good study routine and using good study methods. So, plan, that's where you're going to develop that consistency.
Mhm.
Um, in quadrant number three, so something that's urgent but not important. What do you think that might mean? It's not necessarily important, but urgent, like needs to be done soon.
Um, I mean, for me, I think cleaning my room. That's important or urgent to me, but it's not important.
Exactly. You got it. So yeah, that
Yeah.
that quadrant is kind of like maintaining the house, running
Mhm.
errands, doing chores. So that quadrant is labeled delegate because, if your home situation allows it, there are potentially some tasks that you could very kindly ask a family member to do and explain, I
Mhm.
really need to keep up with my studying. This is really important to me. Do you mind um, doing this chore today? Um,
Mhm.
Not necessarily that you want your whole family to be cleaning your room, right? But
Right.
if that's not a realistic scenario for you, I would say that you could delegate that task to another time. So this could also
Mhm.
be the quadrant where it needs to get done, but maybe I could actually do that tomorrow morning. Or let me just schedule a day in the week where I get these chores done so that I make sure I'm still devoting the precious hours of the day when I'm focused to studying
Mhm.
and taking care of those more pertinent tasks.
Mhm.
And then quadrant four is eliminate. So, not urgent, not important. What do you think would fit into that quadrant?
Probably hanging out with friends. Yeah.
Sure. So, that might be more recreational activities.
Mhm.
Um, However, we shouldn't think that recreational activities are not useful or beneficial.
Mhm.
Absolutely, they are. We need time to ourselves, times to just enjoy the company of our friends and family. We kind of need that R&R time to recharge, right? But if it's
Mhm.
coming down to deciding um, to commit to that 1 hour of studying or going to see a movie, there's one that should have priority over the other, right? So for
Mhm.
that day, we just might need to eliminate that task.
Yeah. Especially if it's becoming like a daily thing. Like my friend wants to hang out every day now, so I'm gonna go visit her.
Exactly. Yeah. So if hang out with friend is going from quadrant four into quadrant one,
Mhm.
then we might have our priorities a little mixed up, right?
Yeah.
Or we're using that time for something that's not going to be as beneficial to us. That's a very good point. Okay, so we've talked about prioritizing. So now that you know what tasks take precedence in your schedule, what needs to get done first, now we need to organize that in a way that is practical for us so that we know we'll actually keep up with accomplishing those important prioritized tasks. So, the daily planner, your new best friend. So, I definitely live by my daily planner. I like a little notebook.
Mhm.
But basically, the purpose of the daily planner is for you to plan out your daily life. Um, and what I recommend is picking a day out of the week and it should be a day where you're not as busy. So maybe it's like a Sunday or whatever your rest day is. Pick
Mhm.
that day to schedule out your whole week,
Mm.
and break down your week into days and hours, like you can appreciate here, with this example of a
Mhm.
daily planner. Um, so you're not just writing down, Monday I think I want to do this and Tuesday I want to do this. You're going into details. You're including things like this is my class from, from here, let's say 8 to 10 a.m. I have this class. And then after that, maybe you have some work in the afternoon. So if you've got class in the morning, work in the afternoon, maybe there's a block of time in between there where you're doing things like having lunch, but then also maybe you could schedule 1 or 2 hours of studying time as well. So just really hashing it out with your daily planner and being very detailed in the not only what you're going to do in that day, but the times at which you're going to do those things. I highly
Mhm.
recommend that because that's going to help again keep you on track.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually have a planner, but I feel like I didn't really know how to fill it out. I just recently started filling it out because I started like my own business with
Oh, I like that.
interpretation. Yeah. So they send me out assignments and like there are sometimes increments of like an hour or two, and just you don't have like a certain schedule. Like it's all scattered all around the place. So I started using it and I liked that I like that idea because I would write like, okay, I can't schedule anything because I have class this day from here to here. And then I'm like, oh, I have this free time, so I can schedule something here. So I'm starting to see that now, and it really does
Good.
help.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if we have a frazzled mindset, then the
Hmm.
way that we approach those things is also going to be frazzled. But if we're right off the bat organizing our schedule, filling in activities per each hour, then you already feel more confident. You feel like you can take on that task, knowing what to expect. It just prepares you mentally for what you need
Hmm.
to do. And then that also is going to affect the way that you do it or your performance. So I'm happy to hear that you've already started dabbling with organizing your own daily planner.
Yeah.
What I really like too, about this image is it's color coded. So even down to the kind of meal that this person is eating, like breakfast is in yellow.
Hmm.
They've even scheduled times to account for commuting. Um, Lunchtime has its own color, and then it's got this cute little emoji. Um, Different classes. So you may decide to make your all your classes one color in general, or you may decide to assign a color per class. And if you're not using an electronic method, you can also do this with a handwritten planner as well. You can use highlighters or different colored pens. Um,
Hmm.
but it's just a really great way to map out your schedule so that your eye, it's more attractive to the eye and it doesn't look like this long drawn out paragraph. It's actually organized even visually with colors to help you to grab your attention. All of that is really helpful for bringing our attention to the task, making us more motivated to accomplish the task. And at the end of the day, when you look at your daily planner and you see everything that you did, you just get this sense of satisfaction. Um, and that motivates you to continue to do it, to like, try it again the next day.
Yeah, I looked back to one of the days and I was like, wow, I got a lot done today.
Yeah,
And I'm proud of myself for actually writing it down and following through this. Because if not, I
exactly.
would have been like, what time was that at? Or scheduling appointments at the same time. And yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You avoid overlapping your schedule or over filling your schedule when you take
Hmm.
the time ahead of time to
Right.
plan out your schedule. You just feel organized, you feel good about yourself, like you said,
Hmm.
um, and you want to try it again the next day. So I can send you this PowerPoint so that you
Yeah.
can reference. So yeah, this website contains a list of um, different kinds of organizers and daily planners. Um,
Mm.
the design is the design that works for you is going to be specific to you. So
Mhm.
if you're someone who doesn't need a lot of detail in your planner, then you might like kind of just a basic calendar. Or if you're someone who wants to have a formatted organizer that's separated into each day, and then there's space to write. There are even organizers that will separate the hours of the day, and I really like those ones.
Mm.
I'll just show you. I don't know how well you can see. I don't know.
Oh
So
yeah.
my daily planner has for the beginning of each month, it has a monthly calendar, basically.
Mhm.
And then per each week as well, it has each day.
Oh,
And then you can see
okay.
there's um, lines of space for writing.
Mhm.
But some organizers go even more detailed than this. And like I said, we'll divide the day into each hour. And I like those too.
Mm.
You may prefer to work with electronic devices, with your tablet or your phone or your laptop. You could create your own Excel spreadsheet and you could search Google and just say, daily planner or time management system, and then create your own format based off of what you have searched.
Mm.
Um, I've worked with students who tell me that they keep a whiteboard next to their bed every day.
Mm.
And so they like to write down what they need to get done that day. And then as they
Mm.
accomplish it, they erase it. Or at the end of the day, they erase everything they did. Um,
Mm.
and I thought that was a really good idea too, because you also get that
Yeah.
sense of satisfaction erasing
Right.
what you've done. So the
Yeah.
goal is to just develop a system for yourself that you're going to keep using. This link is really helpful too. So this is a link to a website that lists out applications that you can download onto your device that will help you to stay on track with your schedule um, and will help you from also maybe even getting distracted from other applications. So, for example, um, there are apps that you can use to block other notifications.
Mm.
And, technically, even on our smartphones, we can go to settings, go to like the notification settings, and then temporarily turn off
Mm.
notifications from specific applications. So maybe you're studying and you want to avoid distractions because you're trying to use your time well. So you can just temporarily turn off notifications from messages, social media, things like that. There
Mm.
are other apps on that list that will track the amount of time you spend on all the apps. Um,
Mm.
and it's I've tracked myself on the amount of time I spend on YouTube,
Mhm.
and it's like, wow, time flies.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed that also works for me is like sometimes I'll sit down to study and I get distracted easily and I start doing other stuff and checking emails and responding to emails. And I'm like, I should be sitting down and studying. So what I do is I set an alarm for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, I don't know why that just triggers me to just focus.
Yeah,
And it like all of a sudden the alarm goes off and I'm like, okay, that really worked. I did focus and
that's awesome.
time went by fast. So that really works for me. Just yeah, a tip in case anybody needed one.
Yes. No, I love that, Liz. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying. So you kind of become your own disciplinarian kind of.
Right. Yeah.
You set that alarm to tell yourself, "Hey, stop watching YouTube, stop watching TV. It's time to
Yeah.
study." But
Yeah.
yeah,
Cause sometimes my husband or my daughter will walk up to me and they'll want to start a conversation, and that's how I'll get distracted. But if that alarm is going on and time is ticking, I'm like, I can't talk right now. Like,
mm,
I set an alarm and I'm sticking to it. Like for
absolutely.
some reason that just works for me pretty well.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. It holds you accountable, and we do have to
Yeah.
do that when it comes to time management because, um, you know, we don't want to wait until crunch time. We don't want to be cramming the night before. We want to create this nice steady flow of studying and feeding ourselves with information, but you got to get yourself into the routine, and sometimes you got to be kind of hard on yourself to get into
Yeah.
that habit.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like satisfying too when that alarm goes off and it's like, oh, I did it. I was able to study for this amount of time and it was worth it.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. You feel really good about yourself afterwards. So this is another resource that is available to you, anyone, honestly. So Cornell University, on their website, they have a time management system specifically for college students. And I'm going to share this screen. Mm, Okay. Are you looking at my web browser?
Yes.
Okay. So Cornell University Learning Strategy Center. So it says a simple, effective time management system. Again, it's developed specifically for university students. So it helps you to take the big picture semester and break it down into weeks and days. So, first thing that you're going to do is just develop your weekly calendar. I'm on number 2 here, where it says determine the hours of the day that are not flexible or available for work, and write these down on your weekly calendar. So you look at each day or each day of the week. And again, you kind of create this list of everything that you're doing in that week.
Mhm.
Then, if you look at your classes, general rule states that you want to study 2 to 3 hours outside of class per each lecture, I would say. I would say, though, that is not a hard and fast rule. It's very dependent on your confidence with the lesson material itself. Some
Mhm.
information you may not need to devote so much time to if you have a good foundation of the information. So while you're studying and testing yourself on the knowledge that you're studying, if you see you're getting the answer quickly, then you may
Mhm.
not necessarily need to devote so much studying time to that
Mhm.
course, and you might need to focus it on information that you haven't fully understood or grasped the concepts of. But basically, what you do is you write down all your classes and then the hours per week that you feel like you should be studying for each of those classes.
Mm.
And then once you've got that down, you've got this semester calendar on the second page. And then, so for each week, and you could change the dates um, that are here on the left hand column. So you
Mhm.
could divide this calendar into each week per semester, and then writing down here just generally how many hours per day that you're going to study for all of your classes. And that's going to be per day.
Mhm.
And then on the third page is the weekly calendar. So you've got your days of the week up here. You've got the times in each day. And then here is where you could say, okay, 10 o'clock, I'm going to study for 1 hour. And then maybe break it up into sections where 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to study for this class for an hour or something like that.
Mhm.
So when you look through this document in detail, really the whole point is to just take a semester's worth of class and break it down per week and then break it down per hour.
Mm.
So that might be a helpful resource. Again, I'll make this PowerPoint available to you guys to check out later.
Mhm.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So another thing that maybe doesn't necessarily come to our mind when we think of time management is study groups. Study groups can actually be great resources for preventing or getting out of the habit of procrastinating. Because if you've got a study group and you have committed to meeting at a certain time on a certain day, you're going to feel more accountable and obligated to fulfill that task because you've got other people counting on you to be there.
Mhm.
And really just a sense of community with our students helps our performance in general. It helps us feel like we're not alone. It's a great way to bounce ideas off of each other, because you may understand a concept very well, but there may be other things that you're still developing that good foundation of knowledge, whereas your fellow student may actually understand that really well and can offer you some useful information.
Mhm.
So just that interchange of information is really great, is a great way for learning. But again, too, it's also a great way to stay on track with our studying and avoiding that procrastination.
Mhm.
Do you think study groups, or have you used study groups in the past, or do you feel like you're a study group person?
Yeah, more like I was like in a study group with like five other students, and I feel like I work better with smaller study groups. So there's this classmate that I actually study with all the time, and since I started, working with that business, I've been scheduling a lot of appointments and stuff. And this brings a good point that I may need to just include in my planner. Go study with, her name is Mariana.
Mhm.
um, and go study with, like, set a time aside, because she's been calling me and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I scheduled an appointment. And I'm like, I've been MIA. So,
Mm,
and I
yeah.
feel like we study together pretty well.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So including that as one of your tasks,
Mhm,
maybe it's on a Saturday and just writing it down in your planner, you know, then from there, you'll want to confirm with Mariana and say,
mhm,
hey, how does this day work for you? And once it's confirmed, you'll be planning to, actually have that study group on that scheduled day.
mhm,
So yeah, just including it into your time management system is going to help you to follow through, definitely.
mhm,
And then another thing to keep in mind too, don't forget to schedule breaks for yourself. So
mhm,
like we saw on the example of the daily planner, the electronic one that was color coded, that person included in their break time, lunchtime, exercise. Um, we need those kinds of reprieves every now and then to recharge, refresh. So maybe you recognize with your overall routine when you're studying that at a certain point you tend to feel fatigued. So maybe after an hour of studying in your daily schedule, you include a block of time, go on a walk or do some exercise,
right.
have a snack break, something like that.
Yeah.
Scheduling those shorter breaks between study sessions will help you again from feeling overwhelmed or feeling stressed out. If you're getting a stress headache, then you probably need to step away too. But once
Mhm,
you keep up with your study routine, you'll know at what point you tend to feel like you're at your max and when you need to take a break.
right.
And then also it's important just, listen to your body. As best as you can. Try not to skimp out on sleep. Try to get a good
Mhm,
night's sleep. Um, Hydration. Keep a water bottle next to you. Being hydrated, I'm sure as you know, as a nursing student, benefits us in so many ways. Physically, mentally, we feel energized when we're hydrated. We can focus better. Being dehydrated is not recommended for many reasons, which I'm sure you could elaborate on.
oh yeah.
So definitely having a water bottle close by is recommended. And then also, we know this too, a balanced diet is also useful. It's
Mhm.
necessary in order to function physically, but mentally as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So, just in conclusion, we talked about today prioritizing your daily tasks, determining what's important, what's urgent, and making sure those tasks are accomplished before the less important things. Then we
Mhm.
talked about different ways in which you can develop your own personalized time management system. Could be electronic, could be handwritten. You could be using apps on your phone.
Mhm.
I forgot to mention the list of time management apps. It also contains apps that can be used for taking notes on a device and syncing it to all of your other devices. So
Oh,
Evernote is one that's really popular. Let's say you've got
okay.
notes for a class on your smartphone, then you
Mhm.
can like sync it up with the cloud so that it's also on your laptop and your tablet and you can access it easily.
Okay.
So a nice way to save time there. And
Yeah.
then number three, just commit to the plan. Once you figured out something that works for you, keep going with it and keep at it, and you'll see results week by week. You'll see, wow, this feels great. I'm actually doing all of the things that I've set out to do.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Like today, my plan yesterday was to take lunch for class today, and I just ran out of time in the morning. I was like, I'll do it in the morning. Well, that always fails, and I ended up not taking anything.
So you didn't have lunch today?
And I was able to just grab a banana and my water. I had like some granola bars in my backpack, but
Mm,
I knew
yeah.
my body needed some food. So
Yeah,
I came back home and ate, but I was like, I don't need to be putting myself through that stuff. I
it's
should have just
true.
planned all that out.
It is true. It takes more effort to meal plan. It takes more effort to actually follow through or perform what we have scheduled in our daily planner, but it's all for your mental health and just overall feeling like I am in control of my day-to-day tasks. But I completely understand how there are some days where you're just falling behind. Unexpected
Mm,
things happen, whether it's with family or just in our own personal lives. We realize, oh, I can't do everything that I plan to do today because something needs to be done right now.
mhm,
And so, of course, those hiccups are going to happen. But if you still consistently make your own time management system, you'll have something to go back to after the bump in the road, right? You'll have something to refer back to help you get back on track, which is
mhm.
really the goal. Do we have a second person in the audience?
Oh, it's my niece.
Oh, she's being
Yeah,
very quiet.
yeah,
Oh my goodness, she's adorable. Hi. She says, "Yep, it's lunchtime for me. That's what's on my schedule."
yeah,
How cute.
yeah.
So on this last page, Liz, I just have some resources for you. I mentioned Evernote as being
Mhm,
a useful resource. Quizlet is also an app where you can make flashcards and then you can sync it up to your devices.
mhm,
This Canvas calendar app. So all of the students have access to the Canvas calendar,
mhm,
um, and that link is kind of a how-to. So, for example, how could you sync your Canvas calendar to Outlook or Google Calendar? And it's going to input your schedule, and then you can also add other tasks to it as well. So that just might be helpful. And then you've already done this, which is awesome. But anyone who wants to schedule a session with me can reach out to me through my email. I am also on Appointments Plus as well. And I should be under student support specialist,
okay.
but you've already done that. We've already got something scheduled,
Yes.
which is awesome.
Yep.
All right. Any questions or anything else that you wanted to bring up?
No, I think everything was covered and it was very
Awesome.
helpful. Thank you for all the
Good.
good.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy you felt like it was beneficial. I'm going to stop recording.
Mhm.